What was the biggest challenge that you faced during your career?
You know, I've had a few that are memorable, some of which I probably would not want to recount for the record. I'll tell you the biggest, I would say the biggest challenge actually for me is when I took over at Porter Novelli. It was after 9/11. The industry was having a really tough time. It was really a time of great change for the agency. We had some issues that we really had to deal with, and one of my challenges was really to find something that would help motivate the entire global operation. Now, we did not have, it was an interesting situation because the agency was a global agency, but everything outside of the Americas did not report to me. It was split up at a higher level inside our parent firm. So I had a global brand, but I didn't have any I didn't have any say over how it was expressed outside North America or outside the Americas. So one of the things that was important, as I say, was to find a way to bring our workforce together, to motivate people, and also to create a strategy for the agency's future so that we would be able to have a future that was going to be meaningful and successful. So we embarked on a program that involved about 40 of our senior leaders in Europe and in the United States, and well, actually globally, I would say. And that was really designed to find kind of what was the agency's proposition. We knew we were formed in the social marketing mode, but that wasn't the only work that we did. It sort of tended to be what we were known for, but the fact of the matter was it was maybe only 10 or 15% of the agency's revenues. We had a lot of other work we were doing. And without going into the detail, the process really was extremely empowering for our senior leadership. It really bonded that group together. Not so much that they bonded to me, but that they bonded together as a leadership team. And that was hugely important to help us rebuild the agency and have a positive path forward and really engage our employees. So it was very time consuming. There was a lot of travel involved. But it was, it was the right thing. It was definitely the right thing to do. And again, I took some lessons from my early days about that whole idea of you have to be honest with your workforce about this current state of your affairs, whatever they are, positive or negative, what the future looks like, how are we all going to get there together, what's expected of you, what we promise to be able to, to deliver, whatever it might be. And that was, I would say, it wasn't perhaps the scariest challenge I had, but it was certainly one of the most major challenges.
Right.
The others would be more individual, I would say, more personal. So,
what are the abilities and characteristics that senior staff look for when they're interviewing potential employees? I mean, hopefully 10, 15 years down the road, scholars, but also some students are going to be looking at this.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
What are the kinds of things that they should know, that they need to understand?
Well, I think certainly there's the technical part of our craft that, changes. I mean, 20, 25 years ago, media pitching, for example, was an important skill. It isn't to say that that skill is not important in its current configuration today and probably will look different again in 20, 25 years. Writing, I think, has always been, I can't imagine, won't continue to be important to us as in a profession. How you present yourself, how you present your ideas, those are important skill sets for our profession. I think there are others that are emerging. Perhaps they should have been as important 25 years ago, but I think that the skills for success in our profession are the ability to sort of see around the corners. We've been known as doers, we're the writers of the press materials or the statements, the messaging people. What we need to understand now in a much more integrated world, much more complex world, all the drivers that we have, the three main drivers that, the Page Society's identified between globalization, stakeholder empowerment, and the new media, or the, I'd like to think of it as social networking on steroids with the new media. But, those trends have really created a much more complicated environment for us, and the potential of public relations in that, I think, is huge. It's a great opportunity for us, but we have to really step up our game as professionals. You know, we can't just go in the corner and write our thing or send emails out or, you know, write the web page or whatever the current state is of the communication side. You know, we have to be leaders. We have to help motivate our companies. We have to participate as leaders, you know, earn our place, you know, as a senior leader and a function that is helping drive change or helping organizations deal with change. I think the current state of change that we see now, I don't know what that looks like in terms of history, but you know, they say that change keeps accelerating with each passing year or second or whatever. That's just going to continue, and I think the ability for our profession to help organizations deal with change and what that means in terms of their relationships with all the different constituents that they have to deal with in order to be successful is huge. And that requires a lot of those skills of listening, of being calm, of having a little sense of humor, of being self-aware, of being confident but not arrogant, of knowing what you don't know and not being afraid to say, I don't know, but I will take care of it. I mean, for us, the worst sin to you know, is to build a situation in which we're not trusted. You know, we say we'll do something and then we don't follow through. That's sort of true of any job, I think. But particularly in our profession, we have, you know, such a high premium on trustworthiness that is incredibly important for our ability to survive. So we have to understand all the different stakeholders that an organization deals with. We're the only people really at the end of the day inside an organization that has that broad view. Nobody else has that, except maybe the CEO. And even then, you know, we're probably best suited to really help guide organizations through that. Does that mean that we run everything? No. Does that mean that, you know, the marketing function isn't, you know, just as important in a different way? No. But, you know, our role has to really be one of being the guide for that web of relationships that an organization has to develop and cultivate in order to be successful.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. All right, so we're almost done. What do you want to, I'll let you decide. Would you want to talk about which of your accomplishments that you're most proud of and why, or do you want to talk about important issues, the enduring truths that you've learned in your career?
Oh my God. I'm going to try to sort of wrap that up together in a way, kind of. I mean, there are all sorts of enduring truths I think we can all have, but I'll go back to what I said at the beginning in my career. When I first started working, and I had the benefit of working with people who were willing to give of their time to teach me. They didn't have to do that. Nobody wasn't part of their job description, but they really wanted to help. And I think I have always felt that responsibility throughout my life, and I have always tried to pass that along, you know, pass that favor along. At any point, I don't care if you've been in the business 10 years or 25 years or 30 years, you're learning something that you can pass on to someone else. And not for nothing, but in the beginning, many women were accused of not helping other women by sharing what they knew. So I think women in some ways have a bigger responsibility even than might otherwise be the case. But so I've always felt that personally. Have always tried to pass that along whenever I give a speech to a group of young people, students, my own employees, whoever it might be, that they have a responsibility to give back. Not tomorrow, not next year, but you know, today, to work with somebody to help someone. And I didn't actually realize how well that was working until I actually retired. And I sent out my notice, you know, I sent out letters and stuff. And I saved every one of the emails I got back. I got back hundreds of emails. Now some of it was, you know, congratulations, you know. But what sort of came through to me, which was very rewarding, was how much you helped me, how much I learned from you, and I'm taking those lessons now and passing them along, or, you know, whatever it might be. But that idea of giving back, and that to me was, for me, if I had to look back and see what was the proudest thing that I ever did, you know, my best achievement, I feel that was it, which is why the teaching for me is going to be really a lot of fun. But I also think that you get back what you put in. When you put that kind of effort into giving back, you're going to get back just as much. You're going to learn new things. You're going to get back a real sense of satisfaction, But I also think it keeps your mind active, and you just constantly have that process of learning and developing, which you have to keep till,
Right.
the end.
Yeah, right. Right.